It's time for
DodgerHeads.
high fly ball into right field. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 50-50 club. Strikes him out. There's a drive. Shohei Ohtani. Freeman hits the ball. She is gone. Birthday party, Los Angeles. Your Dodgers have won the World Series.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Live, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined tonight by Daniel Starkand, Greg Bergman here for a special edition of DodgerHeads because just, a couple minor things happened tonight. Most notably, the greatest pitcher of our lifetime, the greatest Dodger of all time, potentially, Clayton Kershaw, 3,000 strikeouts. There's a walk-off win to talk about, a brutal injury to talk about. But Daniel, we start with the GOAT. We start with Clayton Kershaw. It took us a while. It took us longer to get there than anybody was expecting, but he scratched it out and gets it over the line.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say I think probably the first time the three of us did a show together, he was around probably 2,000 strikeouts maybe, or
that's probably
along those lines. So it's been a long journey, and like you said, he definitely didn't have his best stuff tonight. So we were kind of, texted like, hey, or, it might be a short show tonight, like, talk about him getting the 2,999 or whatever. But, we'll get to the Muncy aspect, obviously, kind of brings it down a little bit. But right now, focusing on Kershaw, incredible historic moment. And the fact that we've gotten to witness the whole ride. Like I forgot who tweeted it, but I saw a stat on Twitter that he's the first pitcher to have 3,000 strikeouts with the same team since Bob Gibson. So We're talking about over 50 years that we've seen someone do this. So incredible.
Yeah, Greg, obviously all the Kershaw stuff we're going to get into as far as the career, but I just couldn't believe how this night played out, because I saw some people saying, he didn't have his best stuff and yet he got there. He had more swing and miss tonight than he has had at any point all season, and yet he just couldn't put anybody away. The White Sox, it seemed like, were committed, Greg, with their entire life to not striking out.
They were fully committed to not be the team that gave him his 3,000th strikeout. They were fully on board with that. I actually didn't think he had bad stuff. I thought that he like to your point, he was getting all those swings and misses. They were swinging at pitches outside the zone. They were swinging outside, inside, up, down. It didn't matter where the ball was. They were like, I'm going to swing it as much as possible, and I'm going to get this bat on this ball and not allow a strikeout. They were not going to strike out swinging. It just wasn't going to happen. So the fact that he even got the 3,000 on a backwards K, let alone just the way he did get it, was just amazing to me. And he actually looked pretty good. He was just getting squared up a few times.
Yeah, he gets his first strikeout in the top of the third. That was old friend Miguel Vargas, who I joked that Brandon Gomes might have said, hey, look, we'll give you this World Series ring. We need at least one strikeout tomorrow. At least.
Strikeout. You have to.
Maybe two. But then that was kind of it. Through 4 innings, he had 13 different hitters, Daniel, with 2 strikes, and had put just one of them away. The 5th comes, and the pitch count is climbing quickly. He gets the last guy, Sosa, swinging to end the inning. And I think every Dodgers fan had the same thought, which was that was the only way he was buying himself entry into the 6th inning, was if he finished the 5th. He finishes the 5th. Dave Roberts, the reports were, just left him alone, didn't look at him. Every Dodgers fan breathes a sigh of relief. And then the 6th comes out. And I don't know about you, Daniel. I thought, okay, he's going to get like the first batter and we're going to see what happens here. He gets a quick ground out. Okay, fine. Then he gives up a double. And I'm thinking, Dave, please don't do it. I believe he was at like 97 pitches at that point. Please don't do it. Dave leaves him in there for the number 9 hitter. Of course, we're going to get into what happened in between these two events. But Dave leaves him in there for the number 9 hitter, Vinny Capra. Strike looking, ball, strike swinging, and then a backdoor slider to end the inning. It was a perfect moment on pitch number 100. And again, it took us a while, but he got there.
Yeah, no, you guys are right. Like, it definitely felt like the White Sox were going up there with the approach of like, hey, we're not letting this happen tonight. Like, whatever we do, we're going to put the ball in play. And maybe they found like a new approach for them as a team. Cause I know our guy, Matt Moreno, the last few days was hyping up how the White Sox have a really high strikeout rate. And he, basically how this was in the bag, but for much of the night, definitely didn't look like it. But I honestly, I thought the sixth was his. Like, obviously if he gets in too much trouble, then I thought Dave would go get him. But I didn't think like once that double was hit, I wasn't really thinking like he's going to go get him right now. Like I knew Dave said before the game he was going to give him that chance, and I'm glad he did. And I'm also glad like the fact that he got it to end an inning was just like so perfect. Like he gets to, walk back to the dugout, get the standing ovation, obviously perfect.
Yeah, our guy Anthony Witrato, although, did point out that if he was able to get the strikeout midway through an inning, then he gets the moment of Dave coming and getting him in the middle of the inning and celebrating. But whatever. This was perfect. Greg, I joked that Clayton Kershaw is clearly the MVP of this game. Now, some things happened after I tweeted this, so maybe I'll have to adjust with how the game. But kudos to Dave Roberts, because there were so many moments where it felt like he could have just said, oh, I got to protect him from himself. I've got to go, whatever, live to fight another day, whatever. And every single time he resisted the urge, this felt like a little bit of old school baseball managing from Dave Roberts, trusting his guy, trusting the 37-year-old and letting him get through 6 innings, which he ends up getting through 6 innings, which is pretty remarkable.
Which is absolutely crazy. But as soon as they took Clayton Kershaw out after 69 pitches in his last outing, there was no way they were not going to allow him to get through those 3 Ks in this game. And this game doesn't matter. Like if you lost this game, it wouldn't have mattered. If he gave up 30 runs, I really would. But he still had a low pitch count. I know 30 is a lot, whatever. It's a little hyperbolic. But either way, it doesn't matter how many runs he gave up. They were going to let him go until as soon as he got that second strikeout in the 5th inning, it's like, okay, you're going to go out there for the 6th inning no matter what, and you're going to finish the 6th inning. If you don't get in there, too bad. At least we gave you that another inning, but there was nothing that was going to happen in that game, in my opinion, that was going to stop him. If he was down 10-2, they were still going to let him go through until he got that strikeout. It just didn't seem like that type of thing, because who cares about this game? It doesn't matter for the standings. It doesn't matter for much. It's the White Sox. Like it was fine. They were going to let him go. Yeah.
And again, I'm totally with you. People are worried about the earned runs. I'm like, the only number that matters tonight is the number under the strikeout column for Clayton Kershaw. And I mean, pitch count, I guess, was maybe the second most important number, because at some point they might have had to pull him. But it is funny looking back, because he finishes 6 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. You could make a case that the first run scored should not have been an earned run because of how Andy Pais played it. So realistically, this was a quality start from Clayton Kershaw, even though he dealt with some traffic.
My fantasy team would like that. Just want to say that.
Exactly.
If you want to put a petition to the league, I'm cool with.
That's what we're going with your fantasy teams. Okay.
Well, hey, Daniel and I might have to hash out Max Muncy's IL stint after this one, because Daniel feels slightly less bad about dropping Max Muncy in fantasy now, I think. But I mean, Daniel, one of the jokes that was happening before the game, and I see we've got a ton of people in here, so we appreciate everyone on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. We got tons of super chats. We're going to get to those. Backdoor slider looking for number 3,000. I wanted it to be the curveball, because I just have Vin Scully talking about that pitch on loop in my mind. As many people pointed out on Twitter, it's probably the slider that is the difference from him being a great pitcher and one of the best pitchers of all time. So poetically, did you like that number 3,000 was a backdoor slider called strike 3 looking?
I guess poetically, yes. I would say aesthetically, like I would have loved a nice hook right in there, falling from the sky. That I get that it's the slider that, really turned him into the pitcher he was, but it was the curveball that really like made us fall in love with him. And to me, like when he gets honestly, even a swing and miss on like a curveball, a low curveball or something like that, that's always pretty too. But just a perfect curveball that falls from the sky and is right in the heart of the plate, and the batter just kind of watches it like that. I think you tweeted that, Jeff. I think that would have been my preference as well. But honestly, with the way the night had gone and the fact that he couldn't put anyone away at that point, I was just like, whatever it takes, man. Like, I don't care what pitch it is.
Yeah, Greg, our guy, Marcus Grant, had the perfect text. He said, how happy is Ellen Kershaw? She's not booking 5 flights to Milwaukee tonight, which was just 10 out of 10 from Marcus. So shout out to Marcus. But I mean,
just the best.
Did you at what point, Greg, did you sort of give up hope that this might not happen tonight? Again, he had 1 strikeout through 4 innings, and the pitch count was high. So, like, were you just resigning yourself for next week and an away game in Milwaukee?
Yes, very much so. I think probably 2 outs in the 5th inning. I was like, all right. I think I even texted you, if it doesn't happen, like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to. I'm sorry. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. I was going to bed. But because
it was also 4-2, and they were losing in pitiful fashion at this point too. So
Yeah.
right. There was a lot of things that were against me coming on DodgerHeads tonight. Let's just put it that way. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get some sleep. It's fine. But no, I'm really happy that he did get it. But it's poetic to the point that, like, it's almost like a movie. How often do you see a guy spend his entire career with one team, get 3,000 Ks? He's only the 3rd lefty, I think, to ever get to 3,000 Ks. And also to the point where, like, we may never see it again in our lifetime, a guy hit 3,000 Ks. Chris Sale is about 500 away, but he's injured right now and could be injured on and off. Look at Kershaw. If he didn't have all these injuries, he probably would have been here years ago. And looking at 32.5 or 3,500 strikeouts at this point. Instead, he's at it now, and he's kind of towards the tail end of his career. Who knows how long Chris Sales can go? So we could possibly never ever see 3,000 again in our lifetime, and that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. The numbers you were talking about. He's the 20th pitcher in Major League history to 3,000 strikeouts. The 4th left-hander all-time, and the 3rd player to ever do it with one team. He's also the first Dodger pitcher to ever reach 3,000 strikeouts. So you stack all these things up. I thought Steven Nelson Daniel did a good job of kind of the line that he had that I thought was perfect was like, this is the very last thing. Like there was nothing else for Clayton Kershaw to accomplish. I think this was not a need for Clayton Kershaw in his career. But as far as things that are within the realm of possibilities, this felt like, I don't want to say finishing touches because he's obviously still pitching and he's on a team that's very good and he's pitching very well. But this felt like the final kind of line that will be on his Cooperstown plaque whenever that day comes.
Sure. Yeah. And I think the fact that, like you guys said, the fact that we may never see it again, like, makes it even more, monumental, I guess you could say. Like, you're talking about 3,000 strikeouts. That's 200 a season for 15 years. Like, not only do you have to come up and be dominant right away, like Greg was saying, you have to stay healthy throughout. Like, and if most of these pitchers, if their arm isn't breaking down in their 20s, you could bet it's going to break down in their 30s these days. So just the fact that Kershaw was able to, I guess, rack up so much dominance early in his career that he was able to, even with all the injuries he's dealt with, to get here is just incredible. And yeah, I definitely think this is kind of the final milestone. And I guess you could say the cherry on top was they did come back and win the game too. Like Greg pointed it out, like, we didn't really care about the game, but the fact that they did come back and win is awesome. Like, as LA fans, we're kind of used to, watching LeBron get these milestones, and it feels like the Lakers lose every single time. So I guess I'm kind of numb to it, where it's like when these milestone nights happen, I don't really care about the game at all, but it was cool that they fought back and got the win too, just as like the little cherry on top.
Yeah, you mentioned the 15 years at 200 strikeouts. 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball had 200 strikeouts last year. So just to put that in context, you've got to be one of the top 10 to 15 guys in strikeouts for 15 consecutive years in order to get there. And there just aren't a lot of guys getting 300 strikeouts. Kershaw had one 300 strikeout season. That's another number that just feels like, are we ever going to see a guy get to 300 strikeouts? Ski and Scooble, if they can still stay healthy, it seems like are kind of the last of their kind, Greg.
And you have to think that Kershaw was actually allowed to go deep into games in the past.
Right.
Guys don't go 7 innings anymore. Like, you have to be able to go long distances and get a lot of strikeouts to be able to get there. If you're being pulled in the 5th, 6th, 7th inning because of a pitch count or just trying to save your arm and all those types of things, it's going to take forever to get there. So, I mean, it's going to be to get 200 strikeouts. If there's only 10, was it 10 or 11 guys last year?
10 last year, I think.
10 last year that got to 200. That number is going to consistently start dropping and dropping when guys aren't going deeper and deeper into games.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we talked last night with Anthony, and strikeout rates are going up. Like, guys are the strikeouts per 9 numbers. Like, Blake Snell is like the highest maybe of all time, or he's up there. And so those guys are all currently pitching. The problem is they throw 5 innings on average. They aren't averaging 7 1/3 or 7 2/3 like
They
Clayton
don't
Kershaw.
stay healthy either.
Yeah, totally fair as well. So again, the breaking news of tonight: Clayton Kershaw notches career strikeout number 3,000. Again, the 20th player in Major League history. He is the 4th lefty, the 3rd to do it all with one team, and the 1st Dodger pitcher to ever do this. And I just thought, like, the last thing I want to say, not that I want to stop talking about this, but there are other things that happened tonight that we're going to get to. I want to give kudos to Sportsnet LA and to the Dodgers because I felt like how they covered this moment was perfect. I love that they didn't try to go to commercial. They just stayed in the stadium for the entirety of that break. I thought the Dodgers, the White Sox, Major League Baseball did a great job of letting Kershaw have that moment because both you guys, we've seen Clayton Kershaw. He's not the guy who likes to be the center of attention. He's not the guy who likes to disrupt the way that things are going. And yet he had the awareness of the moment of like, this is one of those moments where things are going to get disrupted and it's going to be great. Maybe this is that he's getting older and he's just sort of like taking these moments for granted more than when he was like 29 or 30. But I just thought the way that it was handled, he's coming off the mound. He gets the high five and hug everybody. They follow him through the dugout. He comes out for the curtain call. They show the video. Like, Greg, I thought every moment of how the Dodgers, how Major League Baseball, and again, how Sportsnet LA covered this, I just thought it was all really well done, which has become normal for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I thought they handled it very, very well all the way through, up and down. I did joke in our group chat, Jeff, that it was like maybe because how long he was taking, maybe he was just waiting for Joe Davis to make the call. He didn't want Steven Nelson to be the guy on his call for 3,000 strikeouts. But no, I thought they all handled it really well. And I also felt like Kershaw got a little bit of indication when he was sitting there, and they had the camera directly on him. He was sitting in the dugout, and you could tell he was kind of welling up. He wasn't fully crying, but he was welling up, and with all the emotion. And every time we've seen that is because he gave up a big hit in the postseason or something else. It was him with his hands in his face or whatever. This kind of takes away all of those things and just gives you a look at Clayton Kershaw emotional in a good way on sitting in the dugout all by himself. I thought that was fantastic for him.
Yeah. Dave Roberts, by the way, pointing out that Vinny Capra was going to be the last hitter that Clayton Kershaw faced no matter what the outcome was. So he literally got it on pitch number 100 and the last hitter that he was going to face. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and honestly, it might have been a blessing in disguise that it took him all the way to the 6th inning to get it, because if that was like the end of the 2nd inning or the end of the 3rd inning or something, like we might have seen him stay locked in, like you were saying, Jeff. Like we know he doesn't typically, step out of his zone in the middle of an outing to celebrate this stuff. So it definitely worked out perfectly that was his final batter, his last out, and he could kind of just, I guess a sigh of relief and just, take it all in.
Yeah. The other news that we're getting out of Dodger Stadium is that Dave Roberts says Max Muncy will go in for an MRI on his left knee tomorrow. With the tests they've done tonight, they feel optimistic. Hopeful and optimistic, I'll just tell you, are 2 words as a Dodgers fan. Don't believe them when they say those 2 words, okay? It's just they've been optimistic about lots of things, and the number of times that their definition of optimism and my definition of optimism, Greg, are the same is very small.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw some of the ones, the other John Boy on Talking Baseball had a different angle and it like hit him directly in the side of the knee and it went sideways. That just looked awful to watch. And I felt so bad for Kirsten Watson. How can you let her go onto the screen and say he left with left knee soreness? Well, yeah, okay, his knee's hurt. Of course it is. It just bent the wrong way. Like he looked like a flamingo. Like this isn't something that is going to be just like, oh yeah, he'd be fine. He's okay. But that's just a terrible thing to come out there and make them say that. Make her say that. I felt so bad for her. But I can't. It looks bad. It looks really, really bad. And not doctors or anything, but if he comes back this year, it's a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. This is from Alden Gonzalez. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said initial tests have them feeling, quote, optimistic, and that the, quote, hope is that he only sustained a sprain. So that is what we were hoping for.
We're hoping.
Strong ligaments, that guy.
To quote Manny Machado, put the candles out, boys, okay? Because last time there was a miraculous healing. Fernando Tatis available to play the next night. So.
If it works out like that, we'll see Max in the lineup tomorrow, but obviously not expecting that. And just But it is, even though we don't necessarily trust Dave's injury reports, it is good at least to hear that they're optimistic, because if it was like a bad tear or a broken bone, like that's something you probably know right away. So we'll see what the MRI says tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's get to some of these super chats. 300 says 3,000, another great comeback. No one better than Freddie in the clutch, and come on down, Nolan Arenado. We will get to the Muncy, Nolan Arenado conversations here in just a minute, but agreed on all fronts there. Bacon Tree said gods demanded a sacrifice for 3,000. Muncy died for this. Pity from the gods gave us a walk-off. At least Mook hit it for a sac fly. Freddie, simple swing, win. Greg.
Leave it on that one for a second, by the way, just real fast. When we first came in here, we were sitting there and your opening was playing, and I read that and I was like, this is a fantastic super chat. It's going like so far above and beyond on what this should be. Bacon Tree, honestly, well done. God's demanding sacrifice.
It was, I mean, that was the worst part about the moment. There's like 10 levels to this. The Muncy injury, like Oral Hershiser was emotional on the broadcast.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was crying, having seen the Max Muncy knee injury. And then for the Kershaw, like that was strike one of the at-bat that Kershaw got 3,000 strikeouts. So I just felt like the emotions of those two things. And again, I was like, there was a small part of me that was almost like, if Kershaw gets it here, is this just going to be a very bizarre moment? And thankfully, the moment kind of overwhelmed things. And it didn't feel like, oh, yeah, remember when Max Muncy's knee got messed up a couple minutes ago? Like, but it just felt like you could feel for Kershaw, who obviously has been a teammate of Max Muncy's for a really long time. The emotions of those two moments right next to I mean, literally 90 seconds apart from one another, as a fan, was very bizarre to experience.
Yeah, no, it was tough. Like a lot of emotions, like all over the place. I will say, like at first when Muncy goes down, like it was really bad. And even if the injury is still really bad, I think the fact that he like got up and walked off on his own power, like that kind of calmed me a little bit. Like, you know, just knowing like, I don't know, even if it's bad, like just the fact that he was able to walk a little bit, calm me a little bit. And then, you know, at that point, you know, it could be coming from Kershaw right there. So you try to lock back into that. But in the back of my head the whole time, I was thinking about Max.
Yeah.
Greg M says, I was at the game Kersh threw 7 perfect in Minnesota back in 2022 and got pulled. I think Dave learned his lesson from that. I have the worst memory. Is the Minnesota one, I feel like, Daniel, you and I might have been together in Vegas for this. And wasn't it like, it was like his first start back, right? Like he was.
Yeah.
So there were some extenuating circumstances behind why Clayton Kershaw may have been pulled from that game. But yeah, Daniel and I were at the Las Vegas. Was that for Summer League? Or was that a different?
It was no. I think it was for the play-in tournament because it was like early in the season.
Yeah, you're right. So there you go. Jedi Engineer, what does the third base market look like this trade deadline prep? The worst after all. We'll talk about that in just a second. Aaron doing the Lord's work here. Don't forget who started the rally. Big Mike. Greg, did you see that? Did you see who got the single to lead off the rally in the 9th?
I think I told you to shut up at one point in our group chat.
Well, you told me to shut up when he robbed the home run. You know, saving Kershaw's bacon. Really, he won this game twice. I'm just now being reminded. If not for Conforto, where would we have ever been, Greg?
Well, where would we have been without Conforto? No, look, he's been much better recently. I'm not going to say.
I don't know. We don't need to go that far. He really has
slightly better. But
has he not been much better than what he was before? He was terrible before, and now he's getting some hits. I think there was a stat. He was like 9 hits in 9 games with 9 RBIs or something like that. 9 runs.
Sounds great.
So yeah, it's
great
been
catches in there, dude. Don't forget the great catches.
It was. If you want me to just kill him all the time, I will. But at the same time, like, you know, this is just favorite game with me. Anytime Conforto does anything.
Tell him why, Greg. It's because every time Greg invites me on his show, if Conforto does something good the night before, Greg has like a mysterious appointment the next morning, and it's me and Parker or me and Marcus. It's like 3 weeks in a row. Conforto does something nice, and Bergman is mysteriously unavailable the next day.
I had meetings all this morning after he played well yesterday, all the hits yesterday, and I was unavailable today. I actually was totally unavailable today.
Fritz says 3,000. What do you guys think about the calls at the plate tonight? Kersh got squeezed more than once. Great show as always. You agree with that, Daniel?
Yeah. I mean, it was a brutal zone for both teams, I felt like, and it was just inconsistent was the main thing. Like some pitches, you know, would be strikes and others in the same spot would be balls. So, and on a night like tonight where it's like the whole world knows, everyone's watching for Kersh. Like, why are we squeezing him right now? Give him the biggest zone of all time, honestly.
I'll say this for the home plate ump. He got strike 3 on number 3,000, correct? And that was the only one that mattered.
It was kind of a late call. Like for a second, I was like, "Is he not going to call this?" And then he did, of course.
Can we talk about umpires that do that too? It's so annoying seeing an umpire go like where he just like they're standing there, the pitch goes, and he goes,
"Yeah, exactly."
Yeah. Why are you waiting so long to pull out a strike call? Just do it right away. Strike, ball. It's not about you, boy.
Seriously. D Nation Life, Jeff. It's 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. Thank you for being the best. Thoughts on Page's performance in right field? Nerves. Yeah, Greg, is right field just cursed? Because Page, who has been a good fielder, he walks over there. He can't field the ball off the wall. There's another one where he like the angle he took was so bad it flies over his head. Like he was a mess out there, and he's been great for like the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, he's been amazing to the point where you're like, he's a really good defensive outfielder, not just like he's a good one. He's great, stealing home runs, making big plays with his arm, and he was slip sliding all over the place in right field. I don't know, maybe right field is cursed if you're not named Mookie Betts. That's the only guy who can essentially play right field at this point.
G2 Gregs. We got a lot of Gregs in the super chat world tonight, Bergman. We got to have you on more often. Yeah. Daniel, it's almost poetic. It was a struggle. It mirrors his career. Kershaw is not like Skeens, where he's just blowing 105-mile-an-hour fastballs past people, and it's like Mizorowski, where it's like, how do you ever hit this guy? Like Kershaw, it feels like for the last decade has felt quote unquote hittable, and yet guys are just swinging and missing. So I think there's something to the fact that it's on pitch number 100, and he kind of had to grind to get there. That feels fitting.
Sure. I mean, me and you both would have preferred he gone one more inning in Colorado last week, gotten another strikeout or two, and then gotten just one in the first inning tonight. But sure, we'll take the struggle. It's worth it in the end. Yeah,
Starkand and I were definitely on a group thread getting after the people that said, oh, come on, 3 strikeouts next week, nothing to worry about, no problem. So, yeah, thankfully it worked out. So I guess they can take a victory lap. David says a Los Angeles storybook ending for sure. Absolutely. And then Robert, there shouldn't be a shred of a conversation on Arenado. Horrendous contract, declining bat. Cardinals will overcharge for prospects. I think you are going to find that we agree with you, Robert, for the most part on that one. So thanks to everybody for the super chats. We appreciate those. Almost 4,500 people, over 4,500 people in here live for a huge night. I mean, let's talk about the good news first, and then we'll get to Muncy here in a second, because I joked an hour and a half ago, anybody who is coming to our post-game show expecting us to talk about the game is going to be disappointed. Well, then they score 3 runs in the ninth. Freddie Freeman walks it off, and everything kind of goes the right direction. So I think it's fair that we talk about this game a little bit. It felt like this was going to be a loss. As we've discussed, none of us would have been overly disappointed if this was a loss because we got what we came for in Clayton Kershaw's 3,000 strikeout. But Daniel, in the bottom of the ninth, Conforto seeing eye single, Edman walk, Kim walk, Ohtani beats out a double play, scoring the first run. Mookie Betts hits a sac fly to left, scoring Tommy Edman. Will Smith walks, and then Freddie Freeman walks out, who has been the topic of lots of conversation on this show. I'm sure on your show, Greg, on anybody that's talking about the Dodgers has been Freddie Freeman. And I tweeted right before the at-bat that Freddie Freeman had prior to the one in the ninth. He kind of roped the ball right at the right fielder and ended up going down as an out. But I was like, that's kind of the best contact I've seen Freddie Freeman have in a really long time. And sure enough, he chokes up on the bat, and he does what Freddie Freeman does, which is lines a single to right field. It was a perfect moment for Kershaw night. I love that it was Freddie Freeman because of the relationship that he has with Kershaw, and also that it was Freddie Freeman maybe busting out of a slump.
Yeah, I know he's been struggling lately, but when he stepped up to the plate there, I was thinking in my head, like, there's no one else I want in this spot. And I think it was Oral pointed it out, how he was like choking up, like from pitch one at the at bat. Like he knew, like, we just need a hit here. I don't need to hit a home run or anything. And Freddie did what he does.
Yeah. Greg, what'd you think of that moment and just kind of the fairy tale ending for Kershaw's night, but specifically for Freddie Freeman?
Yeah, I think it must have felt great. And by the way, you forgot the fact that Shohei also stole second base to
That's
get
true.
everything
He's
out.
stolen base since like May 16th or something like that.
Right. Which fine. I don't need him stealing bases. I don't care. He did
He
it last
forgot
year.
not to put his hand down. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but they're teaching him to slide like this.
Yeah.
He definitely half planted the arm. I'm like, good Lord, Shohei.
Because he hasn't been doing it. That's why you don't want him stealing bases. I don't want that arm going down again.
Yeah,
but either way, I thought it was great. It was great for Freddie. I think he's been starting to kind of figure it out. It feels like he's always going to. He's Freddie Freeman. He's going to figure it out at some point. It just sometimes takes a little while. I mean, he was fantastic up until June started. So now that we're into July, he's been a little bit better. So you just could see it. The fact that he got the hit, got it for Kershaw, like you said, and he had that big smile on his face. That's something that you have not seen on Freddie's face for quite some time, because every single at bat, he's standing up there, and every pitch he swings at, every pitch he takes, he's shaking his head and he's got this scowl on his face, like, I don't even know what I'm doing up here right now. So for him to get a big hit, it was a big moment for him, and hopefully that one hit kind of starts everything else going on.
Yeah, the last 3 at bats for Freddie Freeman in the 6th, 8th, and 9th inning, 99-mile-an-hour exit velocity, 96-mile-an-hour exit velocity, and 101-mile-an-hour exit velocity. So 3 consecutive hard hit balls for Freddie Freeman, 2 go for singles. And again, the one in the middle, the line out, looked like it was the best one off the bat. He just hit it a little bit too hard, and it made it all the way to the right fielder. So again, the Dodgers win. Clayton Kershaw gets 3,000 strikeouts. Carolina says Fab 5, Freddie breaks the curse. Good for him. The runner on second says that caught stealing probably stopped a bunt at the plate. Love you, Max. Could be. But yeah, it was a big moment. Was full count. Was it a 3-0 count or full count or something? Oh, no, they had already thrown over twice to Shohei to try and grab him. So, but yeah, Shohei Ohtani in there easily. So kudos to him. Okay, let's shift gears and let's talk about Max Muncy, because we've got to talk about this. The second biggest storyline coming out of this. Parker says, watch the slow version of the Muncy knee injury a few times. His feet was flat on the ground. Knee was hit. It didn't hyperextend much because he jumped, might be bruised a little, nothing serious. Parker, I don't know if you're a doctor. I'd love to believe you're a doctor. It sounds like you're feeding
MD.
Yeah. Parker's giving Dave Roberts optimism and hope. I will say this, and I'm not trying to downplay anything. The way that they described the video on the broadcast, I was expecting far worse than what I actually saw. Now, I haven't seen the alternate angle that John Boy and some others, I think, have referenced. So maybe there's an angle that looks worse. And I'm not downplaying. This looks bad. I saw there is a doctor who kind of watches these videos and posts that Anthony retweeted that said they think it's an MCL type injury. You're hoping for a sprain is basically the deal here. But a brutal moment where Muncy jumps up to take a throw at third base. Smith didn't do anything wrong. Muncy didn't do anything wrong. I don't think the runner did anything wrong. I think it was just like a weird combination of things. Muncy basically jumps up to get the ball. His left foot lands. The head of the guy sliding into third base drills right into the side of his knee, and it goes in a direction that it's not entirely supposed to go. He was down in immense pain. As we mentioned, he kind of limped off, half getting carried off into the dugout. Dave Roberts, hopeful, optimistic, I forget what word he used. It's one of those two. And they're going to go for scans tomorrow. But Daniel, this is on the human side. I mentioned it. Oral Hershiser was crying, it sounded like. By the time he actually started talking about this, they refused to show the video. So there's the human side of this and how awful we feel for Max Muncy, a guy who has struggled for much of the last 3 or 4 months, finally feels like he's got it going over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And then for this to happen today, for this to happen on this day, Clayton Kershaw day, all of it. There's the human side of it, of course. And then there's the baseball side, which is the Dodgers can't really afford to lose any offensive players given the organizational depth, which we'll get into here. And so there's a lot baked into the MRI results that we get on Max Muncy tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the hope is you just hope it's not a season ender. Like if he has to miss a couple months, so be it. Like, if you could just get him back in time for October, that would be ideal. But like you said, you just feel for the person. Like, we know what the season has been for Muncy. Started off really bad, but the guy's been the hottest hitter on the planet the last few weeks. Like he's been absolutely locked in. So for this to come at this time is awful. Like I just feel for him. I'd say I'm less concerned about as far as replacing him goes, just because this lineup is so stacked either way. Like, you know, I feel like we are a little spoiled where it's like we have to have an all-star at every position. Like, I think the Dodgers are going to be okay no matter what. And of course, the deadline's a month away. If they have to, you know, go out and address it, excuse me, they will. But right now, just focused on Max and hoping for the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, what was running through your mind when all this played out?
A lot of what Daniel was saying, just felt terrible for him. He's been so good recently. He's really helped this team. The way that he's been playing has changed the whole dynamic of this lineup to where the middle of the lineup has been so good, and he's the anchor of all of that. So it's really sad, and hopefully everything's okay. I was watching, I don't know if you know Dr. David Chow. He's a part of Six Score. He's a guy, he's a Padre fan, but he just does all these different things. He is one of those Twitter docs. He used to be a doctor for, I think, the Chargers back in the day. But he was talking about it, that it looks like at the worst it's a high-grade MCL sprain, and that at the worst it's an ACL tear. So it could go one way. It could go either way. If it's a high-grade ACL sprain or MCL sprain, he was saying that it was earliest is like beginning of August that he would be back. And that would be incredible if that's the type of thing it is, because he is so important to this lineup right now. But I just felt terrible for him. I mean, with the way he started the season and was so bad, and the way he was able to fully turn it around, you felt so good for a guy to be able to do that and feel great about himself at the plate. He's been talking about how he can just see the ball better despite this. Not even just the glasses. He figured something out. And for this to happen, it's just terrible, terrible timing.
Yeah, and that's what sucks about doing a show like this is we're going to have a conversation right now about what do the Dodgers do at third base, which is going to feel so calloused and it's going to feel so impersonal, like we don't care about Max Muncy, the person. But that's kind of the nature of sports in a way, is you feel for the person and you're praying that things go well and that the MRI somehow comes back in a way that all of the video seems to suggest otherwise. And yet at the same time, as sports fans, as Dodgers fans, we do have to figure out, well, what's the plan at third base? Like, there is not an obvious guy that is sitting there. It's not like if one of the corner outfielders went down and they're like, all right, well, it seemed like they had one too many, so now they have the right amount. Like at third base, I think the Dodgers have a really interesting conversation. And the first name that jumps to mind to me is the guy who's internal. Well, I'll say this. The first two names are the guys that are already on the Major League roster. Kike Hernandez, who came in to play third base immediately, and then Miguel Rojas, who, of course, has played third base and who has actually hit the ball fairly well. Small sample size, but has hit the ball fairly well. The third name that I almost said was the first name, but the third name is Alex Freeland, who's one of the Dodgers' top prospects. MLB.com just updated their top 100. He's in the top 50s, like number 42 overall. He's primarily a shortstop, has started 10 games at third base so far this season, had missed some time, but came back from injury yesterday, was back in the lineup today. It's a guy who's got an OPS of like 840 down in AAA with 10 home runs. He's got a 900 OPS in the month of June and 10 starts at third base. And so I'm going to get to a few names that I think might be available in the trade market, just looking at some of those trade deadline preview type pieces from people plugged in. But Daniel, if I give you those three names, it's Kike Hernandez, it's Miguel Rojas, and Alex Freeland. What's your immediate gut instinct to how the Dodgers might handle this for the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think first of all, you got to see how severe the injury is. And if it is, let's say it's a season ender, I think that's where you do give, Freeland that runway. Like, I know, the Dodgers have kind of, with Dalton rushing, they called him up and he's been kind of sitting on the bench, but typically they don't like calling guys up to play, a couple times a week or call a guy up for 2 weeks just to send him back down, when let's say it's a short-term injury for Muncy. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I definitely think, if they are going to call up Freeland, I would like to see him get a legit runway. Like we've seen what they've done with Kim, various guys over the years where, they don't necessarily get the runway that they should get. So if it is a season ender, I would like to see that happen now, just because you do have a month till the trade deadline. So let's give Freeland a runway for the month, see how he looks. And then you could adjust from there if you need a, trade for a guy or whatnot. But if it is, crossing our fingers, if it is just a short-term injury, then I'm totally fine with rolling with Kike and Rojas until Max gets back.
It's worth pointing out he's not on the 40-man roster, but he would need to be added to the 40-man roster at the end of this season to be protected from the Rule 5 draft. So while there would be some roster maneuvering that would need to happen for Freeland to be called up, it's sort of an inevitability, even though they technically could wait until the end of the season. So, Greg, before we get into some of the trade potential names out there, Kike, Rojas, and Freeland, do you agree with Daniel that if this is a short-term injury, then maybe it's Kike and Rojas, and if it's a long-term injury, you give Alex Freeland 3 or 4 weeks and see what happens?
So for the most part, but the 40-man roster part was obviously a big portion of that. You're going to have to move guys around. There's going to be things that have to happen. Obviously, if Max Muncy is out, has an ACL, you move him to the 60-day, and that makes all that way easier to make that happen. However, we don't know what it is, so you're going to have to wait a little bit on that. I think they go with Kike and Miguel at third base for the time being. If it's a bad injury and he goes out, maybe you could see Alex Freeland. I would love to see what he has up here. I just don't, especially with this big lead. We're in the West that you can actually afford to put a guy in there that can just kind of figure out who he is. But I think they're going to go very much. They're trying to get Kike in there more often. They need to get Rojas some runs. So I think those two guys are pretty much going to be what we're going to see until we have a clear idea on what is going on with Muncy, and then the trade deadline. That's going to be a little bit where it comes down to. And no, I don't think it's going to be the Nolan Arenado.
Just to add on another possibility as well, I think Tommy Edman has played some thirds, so you could in theory right over there, and then maybe Kim finally gets the everyday at bats that we've been pining for. So
yeah, that's why it's like the Freeland coming up. Like if he does come up, how do we know that he's not going to play once every 6 days like Kim? So I mean, it's he did play back-to-back days today, but for the most part, we haven't seen him at all. So I would worry that you don't get that with Freeland, especially when you have Kike and Miguel Rojas on them that can't play that.
Yeah, and then these are all names that people are going to hate that I'm even mentioning right now. But if Edman / Haesung Kim can cover second base and third base, the guys that are already on the 40-man roster, because you would have a spot on the 26-man no matter what, the 3 guys that are out there are all outfielders. So it's James Outman, Estuary Ruiz, and Stuart Baroa are the 3 guys that they would not have to make any crazy roster moves for. And again, if somehow, whether it's Kim at third base or Edman at third base and the other one playing second base every single day, you could see a world where a guy like James Outman gets called up, not to play, but to be a late inning defensive replacement if they're up in a game or something like that. So again, I'm not even going to look at the chat right now because I just know for a fact that people are mad I mentioned his name. I'm just telling you, if it's not Alex Freeland getting added to the 40-man roster, like the only other options they have are Hunter Fiducia, Stuart Baroa, James Outman, and Estuary Ruiz. And one of those guys does a thing that seems like the Dodgers seem to value. So that's all I'm saying. Carlos saying, would Freeland be a good replacement? If it were up to me, I would love to see Alex Freeland. Like, all due respect to Kike, wake that guy up when it gets to October. That's what you're here for. Miguel Rojas, I know his last 12 at-bats, he has like a 140 OPS or whatever. I'm good on Miguel Rojas. Like, Freeland can play third. And this is a guy that in any other organization, he probably starts the 2025 season at the major league level. He's probably already gotten the runway. So you have the at-bats. You have a comfortable lead in the division. Like, everything is going fine. Stick him at third base and see what happens. See if the bat translates. See if the glove translates, because you've got to make a decision on this guy at the end of the season anyways. They're obviously going to add him to the 40-man, but like, heck, audition him. If you don't think he's the guy, then throw him up there and let him audition to be traded somewhere else. Like, I don't think that's the move to trade him. I think he has a real future as a member of the Dodgers, not that he's going to be like an elite Michael Busch type like bat as a prospect. But I compared him more to like the guy that Gavin Lux sort of has become, which everybody's disappointed in because they thought he was going to be a top 5 prospect, but sort of like a 115 weighted runs created plus guy who gives you solid defense with his glove. Like, I think that's who Alex Freeland's going to be. So if it were up to me, he would be my replacement. Pocket.
How often do you actually see the Dodgers, especially right now when they're trying to win every single game and they're trying to win World Series, want to give a guy runway that is not a proven veteran? They're not giving Kim the runway. They give Conforto the runway. They give Muncy the runway. They give those types of Kike and Miguel Rojas They don't give it to rookies. They don't give it to guys in AAA. They don't get the runway that you would need to be able to really see what they're going to get. I just don't think Dave and Andrew Friedman will do that with Freeland, as much as I would like to see him too. I'm very much on with you guys, but I just don't see it happening.
The one counter that I would say to that really quickly is, like, I think Dalton Rushing we can obviously set aside because that's a unique circumstance. Sure. But Ha-Seong Kim, like, I actually think you can sort of connect some dots, which was, I don't think they like Ha-Seong Kim's defense in center field, and they view that as a valuable position, and they just did not trust the guy out there. And until Tommy Edmonds' ankle was at a place where he could actually play center field, then I don't think they felt great. Now, they could have replaced Conforto. We can make an argument about whether or not that was like a gaping hole. The difference with the Freeland situation is we might be staring at a gaping hole on the roster without, like, I think as much as Kike and Conforto or Kike and Rojas exist, they are not somebody you just paid $17 million to in the offseason and are trying to give a runway. Like, we all have a really good sense of who they are in Kike and Rojas. And so I think it is slightly different situation. And Daniel, I'd love your thoughts on this. I think you could make a case, like, if Muncy's out for 6 weeks minimum, let's just say that. Like, I think you can make a case that the Dodgers behaving differently with Alex Freeland could be explained, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I definitely think the fact that they don't have like a, an everyday option in place, like, yeah, Kike and Rojas could fill the gaps if you need them to, but neither of those guys are everyday guys. So I definitely think they would be looking for an everyday guy, but I do kind of lean with Greg, whereas, like, if they are looking for an everyday guy, I think they would probably look for a trade before they would kind of give that runway to a guy like Freeland. But maybe the timing is like they give him a month runway just because there is a month till, the trade deadline and then assess from there. But, we'll see. I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah. Right. Pocket Rude Boy says Kim to third, upgrade at second or center via trade. Center field is like a harder position to upgrade at the trade deadline, I would say. Second base and third base, I've got some names again we'll get to here in just a second. I think there are some names out there in the infield. So if they were going to upgrade, I would imagine it would be more in the infield, just because that tends to be where things are a little bit more affordable. Justin says, I wouldn't mind Arenado if Helsley was in the deal. Doesn't Colorado pay like $10 million of his contract? The Rocky third baseman isn't bad for an option. We'll get to him in just a second. Cordena says, I want to see Freeland be brought up, but we need to give players already on the 40-man roster time like Kim. He for sure deserves it. Agreed that Ha-Seong Kim, we all agree on that Ha-Seong Kim should be in the mix. David, by the way, adds the headline of the video is missing third pitcher to do it with the same team. So there you go. Fourth lefty, third to do it with one team. We appreciate that, David. Let's get to some names. So the big name that has been brought up like 10 times is Nolan Arenado. I just want to make clear to anybody who is paying attention, Nolan Arenado is not very good. Like, whatever image you have in your mind of Colorado Rockies, Nolan Arenado, or maybe you heard a couple stories like 3 weeks into the season about how Nolan Arenado was hitting the ball well and things were going well. Weighted runs created plus 100 is league average. He's a 94. So he is a 6% below league average offensive player right now. He's hitting 250 with a 306 on base percentage and a slugging percentage under 400. It's a 395 slugging percentage. All of the underlying metrics, by the way, back that up. He is in the bottom 25% of all of Major League Baseball in average exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit rate, chase rate, expected weighted on-base average. He's in the 13th percentile for speed. The defense is still there. He is expensive, and he's also not very good. I think we are all in agreement on that one, right? Daniel, I could tell you, Greg, you were like, none of us are on the Arenado train, right?
This contract is just a mess. No way.
Yeah. So here's some other names I'm just going to throw out at you. And I'm going to give a shout out to Jim Bowden of The Athletic, not because I think he's like awesome at his job all of the time, but there's an article up of basically like industry sources. Who do they think are some of the guys that are most likely to be moved? I'm going to be honest. As a Dodgers fan, I hadn't clicked on this article for like the last 7 days. So it's like, not me, not us, not going to be swimming in those waters. Well, here we are. Ryan McMahon is a name that a couple people have mentioned from Colorado. Would the Rockies trade with the Dodgers? I would say unlikely. One of the most intriguing names at third base falls into the same category. That would be Eugenio Suarez. Now, this is if the Dodgers feel like Muncy's out for the year. If the Diamondbacks are out of it and they decide to just go fire sale, Suarez, I believe, going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He's having an awesome season. I don't think they would trade with LA, so I would cross that off. Here's two more names that are fascinating that are on this list. Okay. The first, I'll go with the small name, and then I'll go with the big name. This is all Jim Bowden stuff. The first one that just is not going to get anybody excited, but it's a guy the Dodgers have been connected to in the past, is Luis Rengifo from the Angels. He plays all over the place. The offensive stuff is not going to wow you, but 116 weighted runs created plus the last 2 seasons. He's a free agent at the end of the year, so he probably wouldn't cost you that much. He's also having a bad year, so his OPS is down 200 points this year. He's not great defensively.
Esque.
Well, I mean, he's better than that. Come on. This is a guy who 116 weighted runs created plus the last 2 years. Okay.
Biggio.
Yeah. For the record, by the way,
a legit prospect for Kevin Biggio, by the way.
Yeah. I was just going to say the guy they traded for Kevin Biggio is like having an awesome rookie season as a relief pitcher. It's awful. It's awful. But Rengifo, again, I think Angels, other league, who knows what they're doing. Free agent at the end of the year, wouldn't cost a ton. I think like he would be better than Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez for sure in the regular season. And so that's an option. Here's another name. And I hate that I'm saying this name. I want you both to know this. Okay. I saw the
where I think you're gonna go.
He said this. He said this was another shocking name to me, but some execs believe the blank could move on from him at the trade deadline if he can't be extended. And the name is Alex Bergman.
I knew that's where you're gonna go. No,
I hate it. I hate everything about it. It's just my due diligence, Daniel, as the host of this show, to report to you that some people think he might be moved. It's a guy who's performed in the postseason, may have been cheating when he was, to be determined, or not to be determined. Pretty obvious. But Bregman, Rengifo, Suarez, McMahon, does any of those names get you excited, Daniel?
I would say Rengifo probably, just because you could get him for super cheap. So it's like, if we're getting this guy for free, who cares? I agree. I don't think Suarez, I don't think they'd trade him to us. He's, I'd say, obviously having the best year out of all those guys, but I don't think they'd trade him to us. McMahon is just whatever at this point. And Bregman, I would rather roll with Miggy Rowe than Alex Bregman, if I'm being honest. And I understand that Bregman's a way better player, but I just think this team can win a World Series as is. So why would we want to bring that on if, all that comes with it and whatnot? I still don't like Bregman's probably the guy I dislike the most out of that whole bunch. Him and Correa are the top two.
Altuve, come on, throw Altuve.
Take your pick from those three.
Yeah, he's third, of course, but I just didn't feel the same arrogance from Altuve as I did with Bregman and Correa necessarily. So I'm out on Bregman.
Yeah, Greg, any of those names, Rengifo, it sounds like you hate Rengifo. You compared him to Kevin Biggio, so I think we know your thoughts there.
No, it's also, you put it as like, oh, hey, he'd be cheap. You can get him for nothing. The Dodgers will not get anybody for cheap and for nothing. Yeah. They are going to try and get as much. Yeah, they're going to try and get as much as possible out. You want to trade with us? Yeah, you better give us something big for it. Doesn't matter who this guy is. So sure, I would go with a Rengifo. I don't think Suarez, or McMahon are guys that they will go after because of the whole thing that you guys are saying. And Bregman, absolutely not. Yeah, there's just I can't. And this is John Ireland on ESPN LA. What he always says is, once he hits a walk-off home run, you're going to be cheering for him, and just like the rest of them. I will cheer that the Dodgers won. I will still hate him, and I will boo him as he comes up. I don't care. This man stole a World Series from us and was completely, as you put it, arrogant about it the entire time with no remorse whatsoever. No. Thank you. Absolutely not. Those three, never Dodgers, ever.
Yeah. Not to mention, he would cost a lot. The contract situation, like he can opt out, which is why Boston is allegedly trying to work out an extension, or he could not opt out, and then you're just on the hook for a couple more years of Alex Bregman that you may not want. So again, I bring him up because he's on the list of guys who are potentially likely to be traded. Again, the quote from Bowden was, "This is another shocking name to me, but some execs believe that the Red Sox could move on from Bregman at the deadline if they can't extend him." So, Greg, did you have a thought?
No, it's just thanks, Jim Bowden.
Yeah. Look, again, his reporting, I'm on the fly trying to figure out who might be available. There's some names for you. Yeah. So again, Kike and Rojas, we all agree, is probably the most likely situation in the short term. I would not be surprised if Alex Freeland maybe, is on the taxi squad at the very least tomorrow. I think maybe a guy like James Outman is probably on the taxi squad for tomorrow. I think they're in Las Vegas, somebody was saying. So and then they figure it out. And if the news is bad on Muncy, then maybe Freeland gets a shot. I'll say this last thing about Freeland. He's maxed out at AAA. So like he's kind of in the James Outman camp from the perspective of, hear me out, people. Don't tune me out when you hear that name. From the perspective of like, I actually think they might call him up even if he's not playing every day. Because he's kind of like, what more does he have to learn down in AAA? He's been successful. He's kind of a major league ready player. So it's possible they just add him, even if it's like the Hessun Kim plan, unfortunately. So something to keep an eye on. Pocket Rude Boy says Jim Bowden's haircut screams blank. Bruh, come on. There you go. Tim says never Alex Bergman. No trash in our dugout. We agree with you.
Yep.
Jedi Engineer says, what about Marte in Cincinnati? I mean, the Reds are good. The Reds are going to be keep.
He's also a young guy with like a lot of years of club control. So I don't
What about that second baseman on the Reds? Do you think they might be willing to part with him? And maybe he could just shuffle some guys around.
Well, we know he's not the guy that would be doing the shuffling. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. He would not be moving off of second base. David says, please stop giving Toupee Man more airtime. All offseason predictions were wrong. He has no credible sources. It's possible.
Like, when was the last time he was right about something? I just really can't think of one. It's him and John Heyman. They're both always wrong.
If you just follow up with another bad take before people can confirm or deny your last one, then you're always one step ahead of the game.
There you go.
Peter says Masataka Yoshida could work. He's coming off the injury and Boston basically doesn't want him anymore. He's a pitcher, right?
He's a DH / outfielder, but mainly a DH. Definitely not a third baseman.
There you go. Dodger highlights, send the Godfather offer for Jose Ramirez that the Guardians can't refuse. Daniel, you're shaking your head?
I mean, I'm more shaking my head in the sense of like, let's see what the heck is up with Max Muncy.
Right.
I'm not just kicking
We're speculating.
Yeah.
But look, if you were going to
him as a player, nothing against him.
Yeah, if you are going to swing for the fences, this is the type of name that I love. I freaking love Jose Ramirez. Guy's awesome. Greg, you like Jose Ramirez?
I do. I'm just going to want to look up what he looks. I think he's having a pretty good year this year too.
Oh yeah,
he's always
an all-star starter today.
No, yeah.
People don't want to hear about my fantasy.
300 batting average. He's been great.
And he just rock solid. It's just every single week, every single year. Guys like 509, 260, 5'9", 260, and just cranking homers.
And athletic too. Like he went 40-40 or close to 40-40 last year. I think he was like 39-40 or something.
Well, and he kind of has Teoscar vibes, like as far as he just seems like a good dude. Like it seems like people like him. So who knows?
He's got 21 home runs stolen bases this year. Yeah. Look. They can
he throws a mean right hook. We saw him knock out what's his name? Tim Anderson.
Hey, we could use that. The Padres come back to town.
Just go right towards Manny Machado and make that happen. I don't care if he gets suspended for like.
Would you want if you pulled them aside, would it be Machado or Tatis that you would say, or Schilt? If you could say, hey, I want a clean shot at one of these three. Who's first on the list? I mean, Grandpa feels mean.
I think Machado.
It's Machado. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
The guy that was saying about the candles and that he would put this guy his entire salary that they would win a World Series first and then backed off of it. You can't say something like that on a camera where a camera's watching that it went viral and then not actually do it. I was going to curse. I don't think I'm allowed to curse on here.
Yeah. Matthew Moreno would be very mad at you.
And our admin is in the chat right now suggesting Machado is a trade option. So we might need a new admin pretty soon.
Yeah. Just get rid of your admin. Which one is it? You never know who it is.
We're not allowed to tell, but I'll just say this. It's obvious. Okay. We'll just leave it at that. It's very obvious who the admin is right now.
I don't spend time with
Yeah. Laura wants to know, how long do you think Muncy will be out if you had to guess? Look, knee injuries, there's just the odds of a knee injury being short. Like I would feel if you were gun to my head and said, you have to predict, this sucks. But I would guess out for the season.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. It just seems like, again, minor sprain is best case scenario, but even minor sprain, there's no guarantee that he's back and fully healthy and functioning in 2.5 months, So that's where I'm at. Daniel, agree, disagree?
No, I agree. I would say best case scenario, he's back like start of September. Like, that's 2 months. I would say that's best case scenario for me.
And then, and even back, does that mean like that's when he's resuming baseball activities and then he's got to try and lock himself in, So it's complicated. Greg, do you agree? If you had to guess, would you guess out for the year or would you guess back by the time the postseason rolls around?
I think if I had to guess out for the year, and best case scenario is like 4 to 6 weeks. And that's the amazing scenario to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get to some questions. We got a little bit of time left here. It is a late show, but we're over the 6,000 person mark, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So shout out to you. An exciting game tonight. Kershaw, the walk-off, and of course, exciting in the worst way possible with Max Muncy and just sort of a lot of things moving around for the Dodgers, a lot of questions that they've got to answer. We mentioned All-Stars, by the way, Freddie Freeman, the hero tonight, and Will Smith, both selected as all-star starters. Unfortunately, the rest of the Dodgers nominated, including Muncy and Pages, finished outside of the starting position. So 3 Dodgers starters guaranteed. And then, of course, Yamamoto is going to be in the mix on the pitching side. Pages and I would say Tanner Scott also going to be in the mix once things boil down a little bit more. So we'll see. But that's where we're at right now. Let's see. Sign stealing scandal says, question, after tonight's games, the Dodgers are 16-2 at games he's attended this season. Signs mentum. There you go. Look, I don't know how you argue with
it. Get there every night.
I will say,
is this actually Olmedo Signs that is in your chat?
It's hard to say.
Let's just pretend it is, even if it isn't.
Fine.
Professional hitter.
Yeah.
I did have a thought, which was like I've talked about. I looked at flights and I looked at tickets for this game because I love Clayton Kershaw so much. And it was like the 4th inning where I was like, can you imagine if I would have spent like $800 to $1,000 to go to this game? And then at the end of the game, I was like, can you imagine if I had sent $800 or $1,000 to go down to this game? Like, what an absolute swing of emotions for the people that financially invested in this game. And I will say, I think it's Richard who follows us on social media. Hopefully I'm getting that right. He tweeted a picture that he was there. He said the seats started to empty out as soon as Kershaw got to 3,000 strikeouts. So hopefully that were people that were holding their bladders and then because they didn't want to miss anything and then they were going to come back to their seats. But man, what an unbelievable game to be at. Like, I imagine if you were there, Greg, this will go down as easily outside of a postseason game, like one of the greatest games you'll ever see.
You don't get to see history very often. And when you do, they are the most amazing games you ever see. Even if I was there, I was at the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam game in game 1 of the World Series last year. So that is always going to be my top moment. That's just something that you'll never see again. But this is right there. If you're there, it's history. And like we were talking about earlier in this about Kershaw, we may never see anybody else hit that mark. So you're seeing history that might not happen again, maybe ever, or may not happen for years and years and years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Broman dude, why the heck was the White Sox player even trying to steal third base with a 4-2 lead and 1 out, causing Muncy out for the season? SMH. Daniel, it did look like Kershaw had a moment of like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of me was like, I mean, it's a 4-2 game and there's 1 out. Like I get that we're mad that Max Muncy got hurt, but I don't know. Did you have, from a baseball, like unwritten rules perspective, was there something violated here?
No, I think it was just an unfortunate, deal. Like, 4-2 lead. That's not like it's like a blowout. Obviously, we saw the Dodgers came back. So if you're the White Sox, you're definitely thinking at that time, we need to add on here just because we know how great the Dodgers offense is. So I think it was just unfortunate. Like, when you're on second base, 1 out is probably the best time to steal. Like, you don't want to make the first or third out at second base or at third base. But if you could get to third base with 1 out, then it doesn't take a hit to score you. So I think he was just being aggressive and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, fair. We also had sign stealing scandals back. He said, was there any chatter online or in the broadcast about Capra pulling a sacrifice bunt on Kershaw up 2 in the 4th? We were spitting mad in the park. Was beautiful that he was the final strikeout. Greg, did you have any issue with that? The guy bunting in a game where Kershaw's trying to get to 3,000 Ks?
If they weren't playing that the way they were playing, that they were just not going to allow anything did not want to be the team that gave up the 3,000 K. They were adamant that they were not going to be. So no, I mean, it's part of the game. It's gamesmanship. They're trying to win a game. They only have 28 wins on the season. I think they're going to do whatever they can. Like no, I don't have an issue with it. It's maybe a little bush league, but at the same time, yeah, they're just trying to win a game. And I feel the same way at the stealing of the third. I think that was just part of the game, trying to win a game.
Cole, Greg, this one's for you. What are the rules about trading players to Japan, and what could we get for Conforto, Outman, and Rojas? Are you familiar with this, Greg? Don't tell me you. Yeah, we all know you've Googled this at least once in your life.
If you go on my Google search, that is one of the things that you're going to find on that. Yes, and what they say is no, I have no idea. You can send them. Look, I'll give Conforto a little credit right now. Daniel does it. He's the one more so than me right now. I've been hard.
Well, I just know how big Jeff's head is going to get if we give him too much praise. So we can relax a little.
No, we're not giving him praise. We're giving Jeff doesn't get the praise. Sorry, Jeff doesn't get the praise.
I just do want to point out, if he doesn't catch that ball at the fence, which TBD 50-50 if that ball's going out or not.
2 games.
What's that?
He's made 3 good catches in
the
last 2 games.
But if he doesn't catch that, well, Kershaw got 3,000 on his final out. If that was his final out and Conforto, that ball drops or goes out, then Kershaw never gets. I'm just saying the guy starts the rally in the 9th. He saves Kershaw's bacon. I think it's a catch, Daniel, we're going to remember for the rest of our lives. That's all I'm saying.
I already forgot about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was about to go to war with people that were like, you're not even robbing a home run. Why are we getting excited? I'm like, if you look at this angle, it looks like maybe it's going to drop into the small seats. Who knows?
What about the one that it's the White Sox? Who cares? They don't count.
Yeah, exactly. I get that a lot. LLM says Yankees looking for
against the Rockies and the White Sox, so it's like the 2 worst teams in baseball.
Look, nobody was giving him a break when he was struggling against good teams. Okay, so we don't get to kick the guy while he's down when he's batting 250 against bad teams. All right.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. LLM says Yankees looking for a third baseman as well. Something to remember. We'll be competing with them. So there you go. Okay, let's get to a couple fun questions. David, Dan and Greg, favorite cocktail after a great Dodgers win? You guys, it's bedtime now, 11:15. But Greg, if it's a Friday night, you don't have work the next day, Dodgers victory like this, what are we mixing over there?
If it's what I really want, I've been drinking a lot of wine, but right now, always what I want is Lagavulin neat Scotch, neat every time.
Was that a type of Scotch you just said? I couldn't hear you.
Lagavulin.
Okay.
It's a smoky, peaty Scotch. Yeah.
Sounds expensive to me, Daniel. I don't know.
I'm not a Scotch guy, so he's speaking a different language to me.
Yeah, I got one. Right.
Starkand, what's your move?
I'd say probably like a Jack and Coke or something like that.
Jack and Coke. There you go.
I don't drink a whole lot. I mix it up, but I like wine as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a wine guy. It'd be a ranch water for me. Just give me like a vodka soda. Vodka soda, tequila soda, lemon and a lime.
When we go out to company dinners, it's just me and Ian drinking all the wine, and that's ordering his drink on the side. Matt's got his soda or whatever, so it's just me and Ian on the wine usually.
Yeah, we have the joke here is we have been on company trips in which very expensive bottles of wine have been purchased. And I'm joking with my wife, like, oh, yeah, this was the wine that they ordered. And she's like, and you didn't touch it? And I'm like, that would be completely lost on me. And I have friends in my life who it's just like would die to be sitting at that table and drinking from that glass. And I was just like, yeah.
By the way, if you want a nice drink, like if you play golf, either one of you, if you want a good ranch water, that's kind of something. There's a drink called Long Drink.
Okay.
It is absolutely delicious and perfect on the golf course. It's a gin drink, but it's very light and it's gin and grapefruit taste, but you don't really taste the grapefruit. It's delicious. Go find a Long Drink. I guarantee you you'll like it.
Right. Well, lately
Transfusion, that's another good drink on the golf course. I'm sure you've had it, Greg.
I have not had one.
You gotta try that one out too.
There you go.
It's like
Carolina with the real truth here. Conforto stock up and to the right. Look, only one way to go. Some people would say, but other people would say it's been great. I did feel stupid because I tweeted yesterday, like, hey, I've been impressed. Conforto had no strikeouts in a 20 at-bat stretch, and then he had 2 really bad strikeouts today. But hey, rally starter, Greg.
In the
rally
ninth.
starter.
It's all CNI single. Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Last one. 4th of July food. Friday. It's coming up. What are we doing here, Greg? What's 4th of July? You're going to a 4th of July party. Like talk me through like the plate Talk me through the plate you're hoping to build.
I am going to be having carne asada, and it is just absolutely delicious. They cook it right outside by the pool. It's the complex that I live in. We have this big party, and there's a big floaty that's like a big slide, a water slide going into the pool. And it'll be a lot of carne asada. There's going to be burgers and dogs, just like all your typical stuff, but carne asada.
Okay, it's great. You going to put cheese on those tacos?
No.
Okay, good man. Daniel, 4th of July?
I'm pretty traditional, just like burgers and dogs, mac and cheese, usually, fresh fruit, all that good, traditional 4th of July stuff. Watch the hot dog competition in the morning. So gotta do my own. I can maybe get through 2 or 3, but my own little competition.
Joey Chestnut, he's back. The greatest athlete of all time. Some people are saying, Greg.
Yeah, well, and it's against Kobayashi is going to be there also, right?
I don't know.
No.
Now, see, I thought I knew.
I'm not watching any of that nonsense. I can't watch it. It's just too much. Just sticking it down the throat. Oh, it's gross.
Yeah, for me, it's burger and hot dog. We've gone over this. Why choose? You don't have to choose. Cheeseburger on half the plate, hot dog on the other, potato salad. Call it good.
Are you a purist and you won't put ketchup on your burger or your hot dog? Ketchup on your hot dog? You won't do that?
No, I'm really flexible on my hot dog. I'll do pretty much anything. I'm not a relish person, but like my go-to if I'm at Costco is ketchup, mustard, and some raw onions. Yep. That's my I would say my default. But like if they've got sauerkraut, I'll throw that on there. I'll eat a hot dog plain. Like some people think that's psychotic, but I love the flavor of a good Costco hot dog.
Good cheese dog?
No. Although, have you seen the thing where people take what is it? You cut the crust off of the Costco pizza and you wrap the hot dog in the Costco pizza or something like that. This is like one of these stupid TikTok things that's happened. So $3.50 though. You get yourself a cheese pizza wrapped hot dog.
I forget if we've talked about. I'm sure we have. I love Costco pizza all the time. Get it, buy 2 boxes, and I get whatever I don't finish. All goes in the freezer. Then throw it in the air fryer. We good.
Were you the one that said you like cold pizza better than hot pizza?
I love no, not better than hot pizza. Hot pizza is the best, but when it's cold, once it gets cold, keep it cold.
Okay.
I don't reheat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the microwave kind of ruins it. So unless you're putting it in like an oven or something, which you're probably not gonna do. I'm with you on that.
Time for a pizza.
Yeah. My girls think Costco pizza is the greatest pizza in the world, and that's partly because they haven't been exposed to any pizza above Costco and Domino's and Papa Murphy's, which is like a take and bake deal. But but also Costco pizza is fantastic. So my daughter literally said yesterday, "Dad, do you know what my favorite food is?" And I had 12 guesses, and on 13 I was like, "Pepperoni pizza from Costco." She's like, "Yes, favorite food in the world, not just pizza, favorite food in the world." So
taught her well.
Yeah, and it's helps me out. $1.99, $10 for the pizza. We're buying 2 slices. I'm like, we might as well buy the $10 thing. We're $4 deep into a $10 pizza. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
If you don't finish it, put it in the freezer.
Yeah, I'm with you. Air fryer pizza. Air fryer pizza is almost better than straight out of the oven pizza. In some Costco pizza, especially. That's a hot take for you. So
that is a hot take. I'll give you that.
There you go. All right. On that note, that'll do it for us. That is Daniel Starkand. Managing editor, is that your title?
That is, yeah.
Managing editor of LakersNation.com. You should check out LakersNation.com. You should check out the Lakers Nation YouTube page.
Yeah, by the way, it's nice to get a little break for an hour here, talk some Dodgers. That is really nice, I must say.
There you go. Well, huge video posted because the Lakers did make a move. DeAndre Ayton, polarizing in some circles, but unless you're a huge fan of Jackson Hayes, I think you're probably reasonably excited about that. So Trevor and the guys, were you on that video, Daniel, talking Ayton?
I was not. No, I was handling everything over on the website while all that was going on.
There you go. So stay tuned. The Lakers still have some money to play around with. So make sure to check out Lakers Nation, the Lakers Nation YouTube page. And then Greg Bergman, ESPN LA, Blue Review, every single weekday morning, 8:30 in the morning. You'll be on tomorrow. Is that right?
Yep, I'll be on tomorrow, and we will not have a Friday episode. Sorry, Jeff. You can join us tomorrow if you'd like, though.
It's great. Well, maybe. So there you go. But tell people where they can find the Blue Review.
You can find us on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. So it's going to be live there every day from 8:30 to 8:55. And it is live. It is happening at 8:30 to 8:55. So it's not recorded. I mean, you can watch it later. But yes, it's always live. We're the first place that you can talk Dodger baseball every single day on the ESPN LA YouTube channel.
Love it. Greg, Parker, Marcus, they do a great job over there. So go ahead and check them out as well. As always, check out Dodger Blue 1958. If you're new here, huge show tonight. Please subscribe, ring the notification bell. I'll be back here tomorrow night live again with Bruce doing a post-game show for tomorrow night's game as well. So tons of content to get to, tons of stuff to dive into over the next 24 hours. So we'll be back here. But subscribe. We're marching towards 100,000 YouTube followers, subscribers, and we would love to have you be there. DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958 on social media. Clayton Kershaw, 3,000 strikeouts. Freddie Freeman, walk-off single. And TBD on Max Muncy. Dodgers optimistic, hopeful, but remains to be seen. Some scans tomorrow. That is Daniel. That is Greg. I am Jeff, folks. Enjoy the rest of your night. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still champs.
Bam, bam.